Hi everyone, I'm Marissa Mitchell. I'm the president of NRXN1 Network. I'm here today with Haley Oyler, and she's the president and founder of SETBP1 Society. Like NRXN1, SETBP Society is a nonprofit group dedicated to helping families affected by a rare genetic disorder. So, in preparation of our upcoming NRXN1 Research and Family Conference in February, I asked Haley to tell us about her foundation's experience with research and family conferences. So, what they are, what to expect, and why they're important. So, hi, Haley. Thanks so much for agreeing to talk to our community.
Yeah,
Can you first start by talking a little bit, telling us about SETBP1 Society?
yeah. So thanks for inviting me, Marissa. I'm happy to be here. So SETBP1 Society was founded back in, I'm having to think back, 2017. It was a year after my son was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder with no name, no community, no research, no support group. It was very much kind of like just a black space. And so after a year of not finding much more information, then my husband and I founded SETBP1 Society. And we are an international community. We have about 300 families connected to us worldwide. And similarly, yeah, we're a rare monogenetic disorder that we support. And my son is now 14 with SETBP1 HD. And we're based in Austin, Texas, but like I said, our community is located all over the world.
Yeah, so truly international. It sounds a lot like kind of the landscape when we first had our diagnosis, that there was really no real name, there was no community, there was no information. You know, you think you get the diagnosis and you're maybe handed the unique pamphlet. I don't know if one existed for SETBP1, but that's what our community got, and there was not much else. So, a lot of similarities there. Okay, so I had the privilege of attending the SETBP conference back, I guess it was fall of 2024 in Austin, and it was just a really positive experience. So I attended as a researcher. This time I'm going to be attending as a family member. But I was wondering, in your view, what are the main goals of having a blended research and family conference for a community or a group like ours?
Yeah, so we were fortunate for our very first in-person conference to be hosted by Simon Searchlight, and we were one of four rare disorders represented at the conference. And the conference had a huge research component, just as the Simons Foundation is, solidly in research. And so it really provided a nice foundation for us when we hosted our own last year.
Mhm.
And now when I see a conference, I really only think of them together because it provides a very rare, unique opportunity. Like your community, our community is located, like we say, all over the world.
Yeah.
So there's hardly any opportunity for researchers to ever meet individuals affected by their research. So they're basically doing research in a lab on something that they find interesting, but they're not ever seeing the impact of the disorder. And then you have families who, most of which have never met another family with a child or a young adult or with the same disorder.
Mhm.
And you have all of them coming together for the first time, or maybe if they're fortunate, second or a few times. And it is so beautiful. At our conference, we got a lot of feedback on their favorite components being getting to meet the researchers and then the researchers getting to meet our kids. There's nothing, I mean, for us, there's nothing like our SET BP1Bs. That's what we call our SET BP1 kids meeting each other for the first time. They just get each other. I mean, it is so, so sweet. My son, for example, FaceTimes a friend that he met from the conference in 2022, and he doesn't FaceTime anybody else. And he hasn't seen him since, and they still will FaceTime because they just have a unique connection.
Mhm.
And then we also heard of a lot of the researchers who were like, this is so impactful for me. Um, we have found in our community that most of our most dedicated researchers are the ones who've met members of our community.
Yeah,
Because when they think, oh, what am I doing this for? Or what's my motivation? Then that our kids are who comes to mind.
absolutely.
So so I feel like if you've got researchers and you have families there all together, there's just a lot more learning, a lot more connecting, and just that very rare opportunity to get everybody in the same space. Almost always there's a new one or two new things identified. Like maybe the researchers see something in the kids, maybe the families learn something from the researchers, but there's extra communication that wouldn't have happened without everyone coming together in the same space.
Absolutely. So that kind of leads me to another question, which is and you've explained a little bit, what do you think are some of those benefits then of having folks kind of meet in person instead of virtually? Do you think you miss something in a virtual conference that you would get in person?
Yeah, so you know, like the NRXN1 community, we are really small and started off really small. And so all of our first conferences were all virtual, and which is great because we're still disseminating the information, getting it out there.
Mhm.
But when we moved to an in-person conference, we found that the ability to have a mixed in-person in-person and virtual was
Mhm.
extremely hard. Trying to keep that connection. So we did have a researcher meeting where we had some who were in person and some who were virtual.
Mhm.
And it was really hard for the virtual researchers to hear the people that were in the actual in person at the conference.
Mhm.
It was harder for them to engage, to feel a part of it. It was really just very disconnected. Um, and then if you stick with just virtual, you're missing out on all of that in-person interaction. I mean, it brings such joy to me for my son to get to meet other STEP-BP1Bs. I mean, he has so many friends in the STEP-BP1 community. I feel like we're fortunate since I'm a president, the founder, that we've probably met more families than others.
Mhm.
Um, but he always gets excited if he learns we're going to go, meet somebody with SEP BP1. And he is
Yeah.
14. So, I mean, when he was younger, he didn't really know as much about what that meant. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I know, I'm the president and I've interacted with some people virtually who are affected by the deletion, but my family has never met another family affected by the NRXN1 deletion. And my son, this is the first year that we kind of talked about his diagnosis, and that's what he said. It's like, sometimes he'll say, does that person have the NRXN1 deletion? It's like, no, that person does not. But maybe we'll meet some more people who do. And I think yeah, that's a huge thing that I'm looking forward to is just being able to connect in person and meet some other families. Um,
it, so yeah,
yeah,
I didn't mean to
no, that's okay.
interrupt there. Yeah, so I'm just thinking about, I was teary-eyed just thinking about it. I mean, the first time we met families, I mean, I'll probably like it's been years now, fortunately. But it was so meaningful. Some of my dear friends are other SEP BP1 parents.
Hmm.
And there's just things that are different about your kids. And you think it's just them, but then you meet
Yeah,
other kids with the same disorder, and you're like, what's all there's a big group of them.
yeah,
And you feel less alone.
hmm
You feel like you are a part of this, community where there's a lot more people who are feeling the same things you're feeling.
hmm
Rather or not it's a really hard day, rather or not it's, a unique trait that can be a positive joy that they share on both ends. It can be
hmm
really nice to get to connect with those other families who are facing similar journeys to you.
absolutely. So obviously getting to meet other families would be one highlight, but looking back on, I guess, the two conferences, in-person conferences you guys have been to, what are some of the highlights or your favorite memories or things that other families who have attended have told you have really stuck with them as memorable highlights?
Yeah, so I think one, both of ours have had a dance, and so that was an opportunity for parents to get to visit some more while the kids run around and get to
Mhm.
play and just relax. I think that having that social component has always, been a highlight.
Mhm.
Um, Things they want more of, I'd say, from our last conference was more kind of circle time where the parents get together and just share. Maybe it's on a specific topic, like it could be education or seizure support or whatever
Mhm.
you pick. and you're just getting that time to share your stories and hear the stories of the other parents. They definitely requested more of that time.
Yeah.
We've also heard just getting to speak with the researchers. And I know some of the families felt first intimidated by the idea. And so we saw some feedback at how, how easy it was to talk with the researchers and how
Mhm.
meaningful it was to get to connect with them. And because these are the people who are, learning more about what's going on with our kids, hopefully helping us find targeted treatments to help make their lives better.
Yeah.
Um, so it can be, an all around positive experience, but most of the time it has to do with wanting more time to talk with parents
Mhm.
and then yeah, getting to meet the researchers. And then also, I mean, some were just some of the sessions, right? Some of the topics that were covered, the science.
Mhm.
There's no other time where you really get to hear as much about what's going on in for you guys than our in X, I know XN1. But
That's okay.
SWP1 is the same thing. It's like it gets all jumbled up.
Yeah, it's a lot of letters and it's letters and numbers. It's like a lot of the disorders have letters and numbers. It's hard to say.
Letters and numbers.
Yeah.
We're the same boat.
Yeah.
And so there's just not another time where you get to hear so much of it. Because as an organization, you can get things out, but it's not the same as hearing it, seeing it,
Hmm.
all together, at the same time.
Right. Right. Okay. So it sounds like there was definitely a research component to your first conference with Simon's, obviously Simon's Searchlight, which we're also involved with Simon Searchlight. They're going to be coming to our conference, which is awesome. Um,
Yes, that's great.
are there other research studies currently ongoing or in the past that your SETBP families are participating in?
Yeah, and I should highlight, so we also carried that idea forward. So in addition to we had a researcher day where the researchers come together and share their research knowledge,
Hmm.
in one room, which is really impactful for all of them to get to hear everything from the clinical to the disease models to just the biology. So that helps the researchers. But in addition to that, and then the researchers presenting to the families, we also had in-person research. So we had Simon Searchlight drawing blood again,
Hmm.
which is can be used in many different ways. So for example, we have a methylation study now
Hmm.
that's going on looking to see if SETBP1 is linked to two distinct disorders and an emerging third. And so the methylation study is able to take the blood from Simon's
Hmm.
and start to see if these three profiles are distinguishable when looking at it from a methylation perspective. And I'm only sharing that because it's just one other way. There's you never know all the different ways they're going to use the blood samples.
Hmm.
But Simon Searchlight was there, the BRAD team was there, and they perform EEGs and look at attention tasks. So our kids have severe ADHD as a not all, but a pretty strong characteristic. And so her research was looking a lot at attention and emotional regulation.
Hmm.
So she performed the EEGs and some tasks with the kids and some parent surveys at the conference. We also had a study where we were looking at education plans. So the individualized education plans that you have at school.
Hmm.
We decided to do a retrospective study and gathered IEPs from families. And so they could, if they didn't submit them online, they could bring
Hmm.
them in person.
Okay.
So those were the three that we had in person last year.
Hmm.
Um, the BRAD team and Simon Searchlight should both be at our next conference, and we're determining what we may have some ID testing
Hmm.
um, if it's missing for some individuals, but we're still lining up what research we'll have. Um, and that is a draw for some families because how else are you going to, it's really hard to go to a separate clinic, which sometimes you can,
Hmm.
but if you're going to hear, meet the families, hear the science,
Hmm.
and get to participate in the research all in one place, that just makes it a lot easier for the families.
Absolutely. For researchers and families, I would imagine.
And Yes.
both.
And a
So we're
motivation for the researchers to come and have access to
exactly,
the
and
families
that's
too.
it's interesting, having attended your last meeting and several other of these patient advocacy meeting groups as a researcher, I see how invaluable it is from the research perspective to some children who have rare genetic disorders, a researcher or a clinician might come across one or two in their entire careers just in the clinic or in the lab, and then to be able to have the opportunity to actually attend a conference where you meet a lot of kids at the same time and families and see what's important to them. And there's nothing like being in the room with a lot of other kids who have the same thing. And then you start kind of seeing patterns. And it also just motivates you to keep going with the work that you're doing because you can see the direct impact it has. Um,
Yes.
so research is important. From the family perspective, why do you think, from the family's perspective, it's important to participate in research? I mean, I know why it's important as a researcher, but as a family, what would you say is the most important part about participating?
Well, there's several I'm going to say there's several things. So one, we're all part of these rare disorder groups. So there's not a lot known about any of these disorders. And so every single individual is important and getting them represented. So I think it's really important for each child to be represented in the research because, yeah, they're also different. We have different variants, we have different presentations.
Hmm.
So getting your child into the research helps to make sure that there's a better understanding of the disorder. Second, it can help you feel more like you're making a difference in the science. You get to be part of that impact.
Hmm.
Um, I know with even the kids. So with putting on the EEGs, the team is really experienced, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's fun. And one of our kids, I was just talking with the mom recently, and this was, over a year ago that we had our last one. But the one of the kids is like, "I'm going to do really good with the EEG last time, or next time." And I was like, "Didn't they do it last time?" Yeah, but they say they're going to do it, even better. They're going to rock it, and so the kids also, depending, some are harder. I do think the Simon Searchlight blood draw, not amazing for the kids, but super impactful
Yeah.
for those samples to be included.
Hmm.
We've had the Simon Searchlight samples used in several studies,
Hmm.
and families may want, well, I want my child to be included. Well, if they don't have the sample, then they can't be included. And so and especially if you're already there, then it's real easy to do the blood draw.
Hmm.
Um, but mainly it's I see with families and myself, as a parent, just wanting my child to be represented,
Hmm.
because there are so few of them, and it's good to see the spectrum. So
Absolutely.
I think it's motivating. Yeah, and we had excellent participation. So I think, it's like above 90% of the kids did the EEGs.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
that's awesome. And we're hoping we're going to have at our conference in February, there's going to be 4 research groups. So Simon Searchlight will be there, and we have a mobile phlebotomist who will be there. We'll be doing some blood draws, and hopefully maybe in a future interview, we can talk a little bit more about induced pluripotent stem cells. So there are a few groups that are looking to kind of create new lines of those, and that's possibly what our blood might be used for. But then there's 3 other research groups who are going to be doing like in-person sort of testing. So looking at things like, language skills or executive functioning, and really trying to get a handle on just the spectrum of features that we can see with NRXN1 deletion because it's hugely variable. Some people are very, very mildly affected, if at all, and then some of our kids are much more significantly impacted, and that's just remains the big question mark when it comes to this disorder, but a lot of rare genetic disorders is why is there so much variability? I know that's the number one question families ask me. And so I'm hopeful that, getting some increased research participation where we can see the spectrum of the variability of the features we see with individuals is really going to shed some light on why that can be and how we can help our kids. Um, do you have any final parting thoughts or advice for us as we embark on our first in-person conference?
I'm excited for y'all. I think
Thank you.
this is the start. I think The biggest thing about attending a conference, right, I feel for a lot of families is that they that part of feeling included,
Mhm.
it that it really takes it a whole step forward of like, it the Facebook groups, I- awesome. I mean, it is super. It is very meaningful. Or the support groups, however,
Mhm.
online, whatever online support system
Yeah.
you're using, or your local support systems,
Mhm.
all of these things are needed. But there is really, um, nothing quite the same as meeting the other families. And we've had now several families that I've met 4 or 5 times now because once they've met, they've seen the value of their kids getting this opportunity to be with other Step BP1 kids, the parents getting to be relaxed. I guess that's the other part that I will say is a lot of us, and I'll say in our community, when you're going out with your kid, it may or may not be challenging. And when you're at a conference where all these other kids are like your kid, you relax. So
Yeah.
like during the dance and us, the kids are just running around being kids. And I remember,
Yeah.
I mean, specifically a mom commenting about how she has not felt that relaxed in so long with being out with her kid because she just feels she's having to kind of just always be monitoring, engaging, and how someone's going to react, whichever direction. And so it's just a place where you get to relax. Your kid just it gets to be your kid. Um, and so that is another component that really comes from the conferences. So we're going to be planning ours next fall. We will be in it as well, but I'm super excited for y'all to get to have this experience coming up soon.
Thank you so much, Haley. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming out and speaking to our community. And for all of our families who are tuning in, just a reminder that you can still register until the middle of January. Our conference will be in Philadelphia from February 20th to 22nd, and you can get more details on our website. So thanks so much, Haley. I appreciate you taking the
Thank
time to
you.
talk today.
Bye.